This is our planet, our life source, our home. We only get one, which is why over the past few decades, climate change has been a hotly debated issue. Al Gore made a movie, Donald Trump said he believes in weather, and Leonardo DiCaprio flies everywhere in his own personal jet but will still lecture you on climate change. Much of the controversy rests on several key questions such as, how much control do humans actually have on the climate? Is this the most pertinent issue at hand, or should we focus more on other issues such as poverty or terrorism? And what possible actions can we take as a human race? In order to answer these questions, we will explore the conflicting viewpoints on the climate change controversy.
Those who believe that climate change is not a serious issue still usually admit that the climate is changing. They see this climate change as a natural phenomenon unaffected by humans. The Earth has alternated between periods of relatively high and relatively low average temperatures for millions of years, so warming during the last century is nothing to be concerned about. Even though the planet has warmed 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit over the last 100 years, this is well within the plus or minus 5 degree Fahrenheit range of the past 3,000 years. Additionally, those who doubt the dangers of climate change argue that human emissions of carbon dioxide have a negligible impact on the environment. Less than 1% of the atmosphere is composed of greenhouse gases, and water vapor serves as a much larger contributor to the greenhouse effect than carbon dioxide. In 2010, the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences published a study of the Earth's climate 460 to 445 million years ago, which found an intense period of glaciation and cooling occurred when CO2 levels were 5 times higher than they are today. Skeptics of the severity of global warming note that most environmental readings are within historically natural ranges. Sea level has been rising steadily for thousands of years, levels of ocean acidity are within the normal range, and glaciers continue to form and melt. All of these trends have continued, apparently regardless of human activity. Those who believe that humans have little to no impact on climate change therefore see no reason for government intervention. If humans are not doing anything that harms the environment, then there is no need to modify our behavior. However, not everyone feels that humans are innocent.
Globally, 2016 could be another hottest year on record.
Humans have changed the Earth so much that some scientists say we have entered a brand new geological age.
Many people believe that climate change is a pertinent issue that humans are primarily responsible for, and more importantly, that the U.S. must take action to hinder its progress. In fact, 97 to 98% of active climate researchers agree that human actions, such as emissions, are the main cause of current climate change. Thus, those that are most qualified to speak about the topic agree that we, as humans, are at fault. This consensus is supported by a vast amount of scientific research. According to a study by Berkeley Earth, within the last 250 years, the average global temperature has risen by 2.5 degrees Fahrenheit, with 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit occurring in the last 50 years. This far outpaces any natural temperature fluctuations, which means another factor must be responsible. Some climate change skeptics tend to blame the rise in average global temperature on the rise in energy emitted by the sun. However, NASA satellites that have been monitoring the sun since 1978 have shown a decrease in this energy. Additionally, ocean acidity increases directly correlate to human action. This has been caused by the burning of fossil fuels and the subsequent release of CO2 into the atmosphere. According to the 2014 Government Accountability Poll, the oceans have absorbed 30% of CO2 created by humans. As this happens, the oceans become more acidic. This has led to massive coral bleaching and extinction of many marine species. Other significant studies have shown melting of the Arctic ice at increasing rates, rising sea levels, and more intense and frequent weather systems. While both sides of climate change are debated by experts in the field, who use evidence to back their arguments, it serves to dictate government policy, which is ultimately determined by the people. Therefore, we have created a nonpartisan survey to gauge their opinion on climate change.
We polled 134 individuals through an online survey. A vast majority of those polled were college-age students from our own school, Penn State. In the survey, we asked 4 questions central to the issue of climate change. To what extent do you think humans affect climate change? Do you think climate change will significantly affect the human race? Do you think climate change will significantly affect your life? And how do you feel your government is dealing with climate change? The responses showed that over 70% of those polled believe humans have a major effect on climate change, whereas only 2.2% believe humans have no effect on climate change. Additionally, the responses showed that over 90% of those polled believe that climate change will affect the human race as a whole, whereas only 66% believe that climate change will directly affect their own lives. Regarding government intervention, over 75% of those polled believe our government is doing too little to combat climate change, with the rest being split relatively evenly between our government doing too much and our government sufficiently addressing the issue. So where does our government stand when it comes to the environment and climate change? President Barack Obama made his stance on climate change very clear during his speech at the 2015 Climate Change Conference in Paris.
The growing threat of climate change could define the contours of this century more dramatically than any other.
However, President-elect Donald Trump does not share all the same views.
Well, I'm not a big believer in man-made climate change. There could be some impact, but I don't believe it's a devastating impact. I am a huge believer in clean water and clean air.
Though both believe in efforts to preserve environmental resources, the differences in their views regarding the human effect on climate change will certainly be seen in future legislation. As of now, the United States government spends $3.79 trillion annually. Most of that is considered mandatory spending and includes expenditures such as Medicare and health, along with Social Security, unemployment, and labor. However, 29% of that $3.79 trillion is considered discretionary spending, or spending that is determined by Congress via the annual appropriations process. Of this, more than half was spent on the U.S. military, and energy and the environment encompassed a mere 3% of the discretionary spending. However, among the issues that received more funding were international affairs, education, and veterans' benefits. Although it is easy to demand more from your government in the ways of environmental activism, taking from these other very worthy causes is not a decision to be made easily. Because of this, it is critical that you support politicians and legislation that work towards what you believe to be a better America and a future.